Welcome to Encounter Wargaming, I'm Jay, and today we're going to be taking our final look at the 3rd ed Warhammer 40k rulebook. So today we're taking our final look at the 3rd edition rulebook, and we've already gone through the rules, we've gone through all the cool fluff and colored pages, and then we've also gone through all the scenarios, how to set up battles, all the cool little terrain tips and stuff that they give you back in these editions. So now we're actually going to move on to the army lists section, which is great. Sorry, I just had that brush mark in my page between videos there. And yeah, so this is basically, like I say, 3rd was sort of a massive redo. Obviously 2nd was a massive redo from Rogue Trader, but then 3rd was another massive streamlining of the rules. And then this has sort of formed the basis for the next 4 editions of rules. Like literally 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th were just kind of amendments to this. This is the core that we stuck with. 8th, of course, being a drastic streamline once again. So, you know, things evolve over time, of course. I understand why they did the complete reboot. I mean, it was getting really bloated at the end of 7th there. And in fact, I think Horus Heresy is still ridiculously over-bloated. But regardless, people love it. I love it. I love Horus Heresy. Awesome game. Because it brings me back, you know, I've been playing that sort of rule set since this time. So this came out, what did we say, 98? Yeah, so I would have been in grade 8 or 9 up until, you know, when did 8th come out? Last year, the year before. Yeah, it's been like a year and a half or something since it came out, so crazy. Anyway, enough of my rant. Let's get into the actual army lists. So they're explaining to you the different squad selections. Obviously, you know, nowadays we understand the difference, you know, what HQ, troops, elites. Again, like I said in 2nd edition, it was all percentages. There wasn't battlefield roles like this as such. But this was the introduction of the force org chart. And that's what we're seeing on the next page here. So as we went through the missions in the last video in this series, so you guys saw the missions and the different force org charts for those missions. They're just showing them in short form here. This being your sort of standard force org chart that you pretty much always use. For pickup games, this is what we used. And all the way through 4th, 5th, etc. Yeah, it is what it is. So, they're telling you about codexes here, even though there's, at this stage, when they printed this book, there was no codexes out. That's why they give you this massive section of the rules outlining the basics for every army in the game. And of course, this is when they started to add on extra units and stuff, and you'll see add-on codexes, so you'll have like a core codex with a couple of add-on codexes a lot of the time. And then they did campaign books too in this edition, which were again add-ons to your codex, allowed you to take other force org, like they give you more selections for these battlefield roles, more new elite choices, new fast attack choices, etc., etc. Yeah, and so that's kind of the way they did it. So in this book, it's really just your basics, and you'll find a lot of the units that were around in 2nd are no longer in this book. So we have no more squats. Like I was saying to you in the last video, I think we don't have any more AdMech. Even though there was very little in 2nd edition, there's almost none in this edition as far as actual rules in the game. Obviously they're still in the fluff, but there's no actual rules in the game for them. We'll check when we get to the Imperial Guard, but I don't even think there's Imperial Guard tech priests. Like, other than tech marines, there's really no AdMech representation in this edition. The Adeptus Mechanicus or Scutaria that we know nowadays, of course, came out in 6th ed, so that's quite a bit in the future from this. But right away, they give you the weapon list, which this only really applies to your characters, unlike in 2nd ed where you got to choose for your sergeants and like the units got to choose from a special weapon list, etc., etc. I'm pretty sure this is when they start putting their options in the unit entries in the codex, and then they just give you this like short list for your characters. Now, of course, the codex has expanded a lot on that. And what you see the war gear list increase to an entire page in the codexes, but for this, they're really just giving you the basics. A couple of special rules, summaries for all the units that are in here. And this is the first time I noticed that they sort of did this kind of thing, rather than it just being like hero, mighty hero, etc. they actually had a force commander, a commander, and then just a Space Marine leader. And the Space Marine leader is literally just a veteran sergeant you could take as your HQ choice. Like literally, he's a Space Marine with 2 attacks. He's a veteran sergeant. And then you had the commander and the force commander showing different levels. Again, they changed psychic powers drastically in this edition, so we're only seeing one kind of librarian, as opposed to in the last edition you actually had levels of librarians, and we'll see them bring back the levels in 6th ed and stuff like that when they reintroduce the psychic phase. But in this, they've done away with the psychic phase, gone. Psychic powers are used like weapons, so here it's even showing you psychic power smite. That's interesting, because smite is the generic one that people can use in 8th. And it's just a 12-inch range, strength 4, AP2 with assault 1 blast. So it's basically an AP2 frag missile, right? Short range, just a little in your face. Shooting attack, literally. And then we've got this one, where it's a Storm of Destruction. Librarian becomes an almost unstoppable combat master. Can reroll missed attacks for the turn. Boom. So there you go. So that helps him. That's done in the combat phase. Helps him in the combat phase. This one's a shooting attack. It's done in the shooting phase. Making sense? Cool. As long as everyone's following along. So we got chaplains. Standard stuff we're used to. 2 weapons. Got a weapon list. Squad of Terminators. Space Marine chaplain will be given a suit of Terminator armor at 30 points. Weapons for Croziers are Cannon and Rosarius. Chaplain's toughness of 5. If it's on a bike, toughness of 5. Yeah, okay, true. Now, I am not seeing anything here about the re-rolling to hit, so that's interesting. Maybe they introduced that in the Codex. Command Squad, including Tech Marines, are included in your Command Squad in this edition. Huh. Again, that'll probably change when we go through the 3rd ed book, but right now you've got all of your Standard Bearer, Tech Marine, Apothecary, and Veteran Sergeants as a Command Squad. Interesting, you'd have a Tech Marine in the Command Squad. That's really crazy. So this is where, of course, you're dividing between normal Terminators and Assault Terminators. They both have Deep Strike, of course. This can be given a Rhino. Yeah, see, so it says here all the options they can be given. One guy can be given a missile launcher 20 points, heavy bolter 15 points, las cannon 35 points, flamers. It's all listed in his thing here, whereas in past it was like select from the special weapons list, which is what they've gone back to now. In later books, you'll see they go back to that sort of war gear list at the front. I think it just makes printing them easier, in my opinion. Now in 8th, we're seeing a war gear list as well as all the options in the unit entry. So I guess if there's things that they didn't necessarily want to print in the unit entry, they put it in the war gear list and vice versa. Cool. Space Marine veteran squads, and then for troops we've got tactical squads and scout squads. Standard Space Marines 2 troops we'll see in every edition in the future until they come out with the new Primaris that we have now in 8th. Rhino and Razorbacks is your transports. There you go. Fast attacks, we've got assault squads, bike squads, land speeder squads. Now, land speeder tornadoes were listed as a different thing, where they have the assault cannon underneath and the thing up top, whereas normal land speeders just have the one heavy weapon, whereas these guys have the one underneath. And then attack bike squads, obviously. Devastators, Whirlwind, Predator Annihilator, and Predator Destructor. The only 2 variants, and 2 very different things. The Annihilator's 20 points more, I guess because of the las cannons. Yeah, they can both have heavy bolters or las cannon sponsons, but this one comes with the twin las cannon. This one comes with the twin autocannon. No, turret mounted auto. It's single autocannon. Wow, it's not a Predator autocannon as they call it nowadays. It's just a standard autocannon. Land Raider. This was the first time that we see the Land Raider. I mean, yes, we saw it in 2nd ed, but I never physically saw one in real life because they stopped making that model long before they came out with this 3rd edition one. It wasn't like they came out with this one and then immediately stopped making the Rogue Trader one. Like, they stopped making the Rogue Trader one like years before. So the only people in 2nd ed that actually had a Land Raider had one from way back. You know what I mean? You couldn't just go in and buy it. Dreadnoughts, Vindicators, the old school Vindicator. I think, again, this is when the Vindicator was introduced, actually. Because there wasn't Vindicators in 2nd Ed, as far as I know. As far as I remember. You guys can go back through this series and see, but I don't think there was any Vindicators. So this was the one that mounted to the old school Rhino body. The, like, pewter bits you put on the front of the old school Rhino body. Because they hadn't come out with the new plastic Rhinos or the new plastic Land Raiders quite yet when they printed this book. But they did come out with a model for this. So it had a very short lifespan, obviously. And for Appendix, it's just giving you extra little fluffy rules you can add to your armies to make them seem like Blood Angels, Dark Angels. So let's just take a good look at what they sort of offer you here for sort of chapter variations. Blood Angels may take assault squads as troops, or fast attack choices. Yep, makes perfect sense. Blood Angels veteran squads may be given jump packs, so there's your Sanguinary Guard. Dark Angels, Terminator and Terminator assault squads may be chosen as elites, troops, fast attack, or heavy support. So you could take them as every slot. So you could literally have a Deathwing army that's, yeah, wow, okay. Ravenwing squads, attack bikes, and land speeders, including the Tornado, may be taken as elites, troops, fast attack, and heavy support. So again, yeah, you can take them as every slot, allowing you to have a whole bike army, or a whole. And I guess if you wanted to do White Scars, you would actually do Ravenwing, rules-wise. Space Wolves have quite a few, though, because obviously their organization operates very differently. Like your Grey Hunters or your standard Space Marines, right? So here, can exchange your bolt gun for a bolt pistol and close combo weapon for free. All other upgraded apply. Oh, they cannot be given heavy weapons. That's interesting. Long Fangs. Represent the Space Wolves Devastator squads are replaced with Long Fang squads and have 1 Long Fang Sergeant and 4 Long Fangs. They be given heavy weapons for the points cost indicated. All their options for Devastators apply. So, other than changing their name, that didn't actually do anything. Yeah, no. Wolf Guard. Random Company. Champions often lead Space Wolves. Space Wolves Veteran and Terminators are known as Wolf Guard. Other than that, they follow the normal rules for Veteran and Terminators. Space Wolf Sergeant can be upgraded to a Wolf Guard champion rather than a Veteran Sergeant. And wears Terminator armor with a Stormbolter and Power Fist. If a Wolf Guard does not wear Terminator armor, he may only choose 1 from the Space Marine hero weapon list as normal. Cool, so it's just a little upgrade for your characters. Literally have Terminators leading power armored units, which is neat. Space Wolves have no apothecaries or chaplains. They have wolf priests, which I guess are both. Place in the army list, choose whether you want your wolf priest to be an apothecary or a chaplain and pay the appropriate points cost. So you're literally just changing the names. All Space Wolves assault squads, bike squads, attack bikes, or blood claws. Again, just changing the name. Yeah, silly. So that's kind of disappointing that for the Space Wolves they did give you all this information and it was really just a name change for the most part. With the exception that the Grey Hunters don't get to use heavy weapons in their tactical squads, basically. So that's kind of a disadvantage, if anything else. But I guess with the Wolf Guard you can add Terminators into your squads of power armor dudes, which is kind of neat. A Terminator Sergeant leading a bunch of Space Marines, kind of cool. So now we're going to look at the Dark Eldar. Now, like I said, this is the first time we see the Dark Eldar in the game. Again, they were always something people talked about. They were Chaos Eldar that fell to Slaanesh during the fall and are allowed to live because they worship him rather than, you know, him swallowing their souls and stuff. It's just easier for them to work for him. So obviously they changed that up, and in this they are basically Slaaneshi Eldar as far as, like, you know, being hedonists and loving torture and pain and all that kind of stuff. Except they're running from Slaanesh into their weird dimension of Kamara in the Webway or something, wherever it is. So, standard weapon list. Again, we just got a few options. Like, this is just kind of a quick something to hold you over, alright guys, until we get proper codexes. So, again, I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I do want to look through everybody. So we got 2 levels of Eldar Lord, which is the Archon or the Dracon. Points affected accordingly. Incubi are the retinue for dude, including Homunculus in the retinue. That's interesting. So, yeah. Oh, Homunculus is an HQ choice by itself. Okay, cool. Weird. Elites, you got Mandrakes and Witches. That makes perfect sense. Troops, you've got Warrior Squads. That's your only troop choice. So I guess every army... Oh, nope, we got Raider Squads, too. What are Dark Eldar Raiders? Fast Skimmers to pounce on enemy troops. Oh! Right, so yeah, it's just a Dark Eldar Warrior Squad in a Raider transport. I don't know why they put that as a separate entry, but anyway. Scourges, basically your flying heavy weapons. Ravager, right? And then into Tyranids. As you can see, guys, very short sections. So again, basic weapon summary. Obviously, we don't have a war gear list, which is interesting. So I guess everybody's options are included in their actual unit entries. So leading the army, we have Hive Tyrants. That's it. That's your only HQ choice. Interesting. Yep, because they don't have Broodlords yet, so that might have been introduced in 4th even. We'll take a look when we get to the 3rd Tyranid book, if I have it. So elites, we've got Lictors, and this is something I didn't point out earlier, the 0 to 1s. This was something that lasted a couple of editions where they allowed you to take 0 to 1, 0 to 3. Like, you can't have more than 1 unit of Lictors. You can't have probably more than 1 Hive Tyrant. Oh, you can have more than 1 Hive Tyrant. Well, I guess you'd have to if it's the only HQ choice they give you. So at least we got Tyranid Warriors. Gene Stealers, Termagants, and Rippers as the troops. Totally makes sense. Should have Hormagaunts too. No? Hormagaunts are fast attack. Interesting. Ah, Sparmine Clusters are troop choices. So your fast attacks, you've got Hormagaunts and Gargoyles, making perfect sense. 0 to 1 zone tropes, that's interesting. Units of 1 to 3, yeah, totally. Carnifexes and Biowars, and that's it. So a lot of the new cool beasties that Tyranids have actually didn't come about until like 7th, I want to say. All these weird new artillery bugs and the big Swarm Lord and the big pregnant one and like whatever. None of that stuff was around. Even in 4th, you'll find that the unit selections are very slim. However, in this edition, they do introduce a few Tyranid special characters, which was unheard of before. And very much in the same vein as the AdMech, you will not see Gene Stealer cults in this edition either, which is interesting. They just done away with them completely, which now have made a resurgence in 7th and are back now in 8th, but did not exist in this edition. So, moving on to the Craft World Eldar. Basics, Rune Armor gives you a 4-up and vulnerable save, cool. Witchblade, wound on 2+. Triple the bearer's strength characteristic against armor. Ew. Gross. Cool. Alright, so we've got the Avatar, only 0 to 1, because of course every craft world only has one. We got the Phoenix Lords. Now it's just a generic Phoenix Lord that now you're giving an aspect upgrade, rather than having special characters for each one, which is definitely interesting, because saying before how you had to ask your opponent if you could use a special character, that would actually mean that a Phoenix Lord is not a named character. So, what's his name? Azerman, Karandras, Jane Czar, those kind of peoples don't have names in this until they come out with the Codex. We will see the Craft World Codex in the future, but right now, you're literally just building a generic Phoenix aspect Lord. And Farseers, of course, as your HQ choice. Haven't seen Warlocks yet. Now that might have been a 4th thing where they introduced the Council. In this edition, they're probably just leaders of the Guardian Squads, but we'll find out in a second. So for elites, we've got your, of course, Aspect Warriors. We've got Warp Spiders, Striking Scorpions, Howling Banshees, Fire Dragons, Wraith Guard, cool. And then for troops, we've got Dire Avengers, which was neat that they made them a troop choice, and Guardian Defenders and Guardian Storm Squad. So these are your guys with shuriken catapults, and these are your guys with the pistol and sword. Unit may be joined by a warlock from the Farseer's retinue. Oh. Sorry, I hit the camera there. My bad, guys. So yeah, actually we are seeing, yep, warlock and jetbike warlock in the Farseer's retinue. Cool. Alright, so I stand corrected. Warlocks are a retinue for the Farseer as well as leaders for the Guardians, but they are not taken on their own, which is interesting. Rangers, so those are your Eldar Scouts, basically. And then the Wave Serpent, this was the introduction of the Wave Serpent, which was basically just the Falcon Grav tank with like some extra little bits that they added to it. Now there's a whole like proper Wave Serpent model. But in this edition, there wasn't a Wave Serpent model. They just kind of made an extra sprue that they added on to the Falcon Grav tank. Just like added an extra piece to the front, and there was like these little things that you glued to the side that kind of stuck out. I don't know how to describe it, but you guys know what I'm talking about if you know what I'm talking about. So, fast attacks, we've got jet bikes, vipers, shining spears. There we go. Swooping hawks, perfect sense. Ah, the fire prism as well. That was something I'm not sure existed in the second. Which again was just the Falcon Grav tank with a new pewter gun. They just made a little pewter gun to add on to the existing plastic kit. And we've also got Wraith Lords and Warwalkers, of course. Ah, the big support weapons. I think those were an addition. No, D-cannons and stuff like that were around in second, weren't they, guys? I don't know, my brain is just not working today. Go back and check it out, or just leave a comment below and let me know. I'm pretty sure the big support weapon batteries were around in second, but if they weren't, then they definitely introduced them here. They might have just introduced a bigger variety of them in this edition. Oh, and you can have warlocks attached. Huh. Huh. Maybe joined by a warlock from the Farseer's retinue. So anything that has guardians, I guess, can just be, you can just attach a warlock to lead them. Even the heavy support. That's interesting. And Dark Reapers, the final aspect for heavy supports. And then here they've given you some rules for craft worlds. Let's see what the craft worlds allow. Oath we are allowed 5. Must be led by a Farseer. And allowed 5 to 10 warlocks. Huh. Aleatok must take 2 units of Rangers. But these do not count towards your troop selections. Okay. So effectively you can have 8 troop choices. But you have to take Rangers. Jetbike army. 2 to 6 troops and up to 3 fast attack choices. Become 2 to 6 fast attack choices and 3 troops. Ah, so you're literally switching fast attack for troops. Any swooping hawk, anything other than swooping hawks and shining spears must take a wave serpent transport. A falcon or wave serpent transport. Interesting. So I'm not really seeing these as like huge advantages. I mean, it just kind of creates a personality for the army, which is kind of neat. So I guess there's no like game-breaking stuff here as far as like chapter traits like we see nowadays. And there you go. There's another cool piece of art. Again, just straight front to back, up and down. Dude in Terminator armor. I need to find out this artist's name. So send me the comments below, guys. I want to know this artist's name. Because obviously I have the credits at the front, but I don't know who drew what. I mean, other than John Blanche, because his stuff is just so unique, and like, there's no mistaking when John Blanche drew a piece of art. Nobody's stuff looks like John Blanche's. But this was a new aesthetic that I liked at this time, and so I'd like to find out who this artist is. So now we're getting into some color pages. Always fun. And like I said, you can see in this edition they've really branched off of the standard green flock tables. Excuse me. Like, we can seriously see the green flock table here, but then we move on to this. Clearly a desert table, right? Super cool. And painted sand on the ground rather than just covering the whole table in a flock mat. And then even here we're seeing with the trenches and stuff like that, like, just add some more realism. We're trying to get out of the goofiness of the 80s, I suppose. Or even the 90s for that matter. we're seeing, yeah, because we're seeing a city world here. There's a bunch of foam core buildings. Nothing crazy. The ice world that we saw earlier in the first video of this book. Just love looking at this stuff, you know? So yeah, we're still seeing the old school Terminators. This was a new Captain model. He's obviously super old at this point, but at this time, that was one of the newest, coolest models compared to the old Second Ed Space Marines. Cool. Crayon Launcher Whirlwind. I got myself one of those, actually, in my 30K army. The badass Scouts. I still got a bunch of these pewter Scouts. A definite upgrade from the old 80s Rogue Trader plastics, which I also have somewhere in a box. Maybe I'll pull those out for you guys at some point. Again, throw a comment below, let me know, do you want to see the old school Mohawk Scouts? Because I also have these pewter Scouts, which I'm actually in the process of painting up right now for my Space Marine army. Because I think they're just as good, if not better, than the current plastic Scouts, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, the old school Chaos Terminators. I'm so glad they redid those models in 4th. Yeah, it took them till 4th, 4.5 to give us new plastic Chaos Terminators. Jerks. Anyway, Sisters. Yep, your standard Sisters models that we saw in the last video of 2nd edition there. So I guess 3 videos ago in this case, but the last video before this book. Tyranids, yeah, we're seeing the old Tyranid warriors, the super old Rogue Trader ones. The old Zoanthrope, cool. Look at the Hormagaunt and how goofy he looks compared to the ones now. I still love the old Gene Stealers though. I've got like 4 of them in my collection. Obviously my in the process Gene Stealer cult army is using current Gene Stealer models, but I've got a few of these old bastards kicking around just for funsies because they're just so cool. Not enough to do a unit to put on the table, but enough that I can, you know, just look at them every now and again because I love the old stuff. I got the old Plague Marines here. I don't think the Warp Spider models have even changed. I think they're still the same model from back in the day. There's all the other aspects. Now they redid the Dire Avengers in this edition. They made them an upgrade for the Guardian sprue, for the new plastic Guardian sprue, because you can see here the old Second Ed Guardians. So what they did is they made the new plastic Guardians, which are current plastic Guardians, I think actually. They made them in this edition, and then they made the Dire Avengers just a head upgrade. Maybe even a longer shuriken catapult or something. It might have been the same gun, it might have just been heads. Yeah, I think it was just heads and accessories. They just added to the Guardians. But here again, I guess they haven't had, maybe they haven't even come out with it yet, or, you know, again, using stock footage, like clearly we saw these 3 pictures here in the old Eldar book, whereas we didn't see this Warlock. You can see he's got a snow base, whereas everything back in 2nd Ed had the green flock base. So again, just something worth noting. And the incorporation of the Gorka Morka models into the Orc aesthetic. So now they're like literally like, I don't see a single 2nd Ed Orc model here. All of this is Gorka Morka models. Yeah, everybody here is a Gorka Morka model. So they're literally like switching over at this point. Slug-a-boy, yeah. It's the old Gorka Morka guys on a 25 mil. Because obviously the Gorka Morka, they came with those little tiny bases because you were able to put as many guys on the vehicle as could actually fit and stuff. Like, yeah. Gorka Morka was fun. Still old school Chaos Space Marines. I got one of these guys. In fact, I used his wings on a different model and I wish I never had because this old school model is awesome. But I'll probably just take that head because you can't even get that head anymore anywhere. I just love the devil face as opposed to like... They re-released this model with like a dog head back in like 4th edition. And then obviously the Bloodthirster now is just a ridiculously dynamic, amazing plastic kit. It's just mind-blowing. So this guy would only be good as a Demon Prince, like up to the... comparing him to the new current Bloodthirster. But I gotta use that head on something. Maybe I'll use the body to make a Demon Prince of another kind or something. Anyways. And yeah, we're even seeing the Plague Bearers with square bases. That's funny. Because they could be used in both games, right? In Second Ed, nobody cared about your bases. And the Dark Eldar. The brand new, the newbie to the game. So anyway, that was just some fun little color pages. Let's get into the Chaos Space Marine army list. So in this, I believe we've got all of Chaos rolled into one. So you're counting demons and Chaos Space Marines and all that in one. Now, in Second Ed, we saw that there was Chaos Warriors and Beastmen and Cultists. But I don't think there's any of that in this edition. I don't even think they have Cultists. Let me just make sure of that, though. Because I believe they reintroduced the Cultists in the Lost in the Dam Codex. And then they didn't even actually give them it as a troop choice until 6th edition, I want to say. Because they came in with a 4.5 dex. Which was that one with the generic demons and stuff, which was just disappointing. Well, that was a 5th. 3.5 was the one, was the really good one. But yeah, it didn't have Cultists, I don't think. So they didn't give them back Cultists until 6th. But we're looking at one Chaos Lord. Obviously, there's not going to be more than one Chaos Lord, because the other ones would just try to overthrow him. Got a Chaos Sorcerer. So standard, you can put him on a Juggernaut, a Steed of Slaanesh, or a Disc of Tzeentch. I guess they didn't have the Palanquin of Nurgle option yet. And then we've got Demon Princes, Greater Demons, yeah, so of course, we're rolling Demons and Chaos Space Marines all into one army. Chaos Lord's Retinue, which can be either just standard Chaos Space Marines, Aspiring Champions, or Chaos Terminators. That's neat. Okay. Basic dudes as your retinue, that's interesting. Terminators. Just Terminators. You can have any of the weapon options. I don't know why they made the Loyalists like it's either close combat or shooty. Chaos Terminators can do both. Always have been able to and always will be able to. I guess the Deathwing can in the current rule set, but regardless. Chaos Veterans, so these are going to become your chosen in later editions. And then we've got your Cult Marines, of course, Khorne Berserkers, Plague Marines, Thousand Suns. Now this is where I'm going to look to see if Plague Marines have a Feel No Pain. Frag grenades, crack grenades. Nope. Nope, no Feel No Pain. So I don't even think that comes into the game until we get to Necrons. Or maybe the Chaos... Whoop, shaking the camera again. Or maybe when we get to the actual Chaos Space Marine book, it'll introduce that. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out in the future. So I guess that means they're just Toughness 5 Chaos Marines. Which is kind of lame. Thousand Sun Marines are a 2-wound Space Marine. That's all it is. And Khorne Berserkers are just a Space Marine with an extra attack. Interesting they didn't have Noise Marines there at all. It's interesting to note. Troops, you got your standard Chaos Space Marine squad. Demon Pack. Wow, so they even made generic demons in this edition. What? Oh yeah, I remember that still. In the Chaos Space Marine book, though, I swear they introduced bloodletters and stuff in this edition. But maybe for this, like I say, this is just a quick, like, keep tiding you over until they get a codex kind of thing. So I guess they just made generic demons. Same with demonic beasts. So, you know, your Fleshhounds, Beasts of Nurgle, Screamers, they're all just demonic beasts, right? So for troops, we've got Chaos Space Marine squads, Demon squads, and Nurgling squads. I like that they made Nurglings something at least, because they're clearly different than any of the other demons. They are the only swarm that I know of for Chaos. Yep, so fast attack, we've got Beasts and Bikers. Making sense. Ah, Noise Marines are a heavy support choice. Wild. I mean, it totally makes sense as far as battlefield role, but Chaos Space Marine Havocs, Dreadnoughts, Predators, and Land Raiders. Yeah, and you see here, they actually put the Predator as one entry. You choose about it as twin glass cannon for that point, or auto cannon for that point. Whereas in the Space Marines, they put it as two separate variants. Even though everything's the same, it's literally just their weapon options that are different. So I don't know why they did it that way. It's like I was just saying, they did the same thing for the Terminators too. So I guess Loyalists are just weird. So now we're into the Imperial Guard. Awesome. So yep, officer weapon list. There you go. Standard summaries that we've seen all so far. Now I want to see if there's tech priests. Let's see if there's tech priests. So for command, we've got an HQ squad, right? There's no characters as such in these editions. You're purchasing, yeah, just like second. Guardsmen, commissars, led by a captain, led by a colonel. So your guardsmen are free, yeah, because he comes with dudes. You can't have a leader without dudes in the Imperial Guard. He has to have a command squad. And that's the way it was up until, well, I guess up until our current incarnation of the rules. In 8th, you purchase the character and then you purchase the command squad as an elite choice, which is weird, but I guess that's the way the character rules are nowadays. So we got a commissar, just one level of them. Nowadays we have a lord commissar as well, but a commissar is an HQ choice rather than an elite choice. Rattling marksman, 3 to 10 rattlings. Okay, you can have up to 2 units of Ogrins. That's interesting. 3 to 5 Ogrins each. Stormtroopers as elite choices, making perfect sense. And for troops, you had the infantry platoon. So this is where it got interesting. This is when you, for one troop choice, you take a small command squad, and then 1 to 5 infantry squads, and then you get to add on these as extra troop choices. So for your one troop choice, you get a command squad and 5 infantry squads. Or you can just take like 1 armored fist squad as a troop choice, or 1 mortar squad as a troop choice, which is interesting, or 1 fire support squad, which have heavy weapons. Yeah, they're troop choices. Crazy. Crazy. And then Chimera as your transport, obviously. Then for fast attacks, we've got Rough Riders, Sentinels, and Hellhounds. They didn't have the Devil Dog and all that stuff didn't exist yet. I believe those were 5th ed add-ons, if I'm correct there. Now for heavy support, we have an anti-tank squad. What is that? Heavy... armed with following heavy weapons. All 6 guard carry las guns. So this is a unit of 3 heavy weapons. What is the fire support squad then? Ah, it's what weapons they can take. So the fire support squad is either 3 heavy bolters or 3 autocannons or a mixture. And then these ones are las cannons and missile launchers. So you can't mix autocannons and missile launchers. You have las cannons and missile launchers and autocannons and heavy, but that kind of makes sense, but I believe that'll change up with the 3rd ed Imperial Guard Codex, and again we will see that in the future. Then for heavies, yep, we're in heavies. We got Leman Russ Battle Tank and Leman Russ Demolisher. Again, all the other variants that we're used to seeing didn't exist yet in this edition. We just have the standard Battle Tank and Demolisher the same way we had in 2nd. There wasn't the Punisher and the Executioner and the Eradicator and blah 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 blah. Then we've got Basilisks and Griffins. I don't even think the Griffin is around anymore. Now that I think of it, that's the one with the mortar on the back of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, comment below. But I don't think it's in the current codex, but I might be wrong. And then again, we've got rules for different companies. Obviously for a mechanized company, everybody has to be in armored transports. Armored company, take Leman Russ battle tanks as HQ and troop choices instead of heavy support. Cool. And ban the use of any units other than armored vehicles. Right. Rough Rider Company. Command section mounted on horses with hunting lances, chainswords, and las pistols, 5 points per model. Command HQ is similarly mounted and equipped at the same cost. Cool, so it's not just Rough Rider units. Please note you can use special or heavy weapons mounted. You can't use. It scares the horses. The players that are mad enough may consider converting weapon teams so that they can move about mounted and then replace by foot models in order to fire. in field-mounted mortar fire support and anti-tank squads at 5 points per model, and allow command section and HQs to take special and heavy weapon options. But all of these weapons become heavy weapons that cannot move or fire. That cannot move or fire. So you model them with horses, you pay 5 points, and they can't move or shoot. What? That's unclear. Whatever. Anyway. A Stormtrooper Commando Force. Take Stormtrooper squads for all of your units in your army, including HQ, elites, troops, fast attack, and heavy support. So that's basically your Militarum Tempestus right there. Orcs, my favorites! Awesome. Ah, we got 2 war gear lists. That's interesting. One for mech boys specifically, and the other one for knobs. First introduction of the Big Choppa and the Power Claw. Gretchen. Now this is interesting. I remember back in this edition you could actually step on them to get over difficult terrain. Gretchen, notoriously cowardly by orc standards. Led by an orc slaver. Morale checks are made against orc leadership value as you would expect, but there is no mob rule for Gretchen. Grots don't count when it comes to counting heads. Okay. 0-1 War Boss, obviously. Ah, so this is what it's talking about when it comes to how many models are in the unit for morale checks. Grots don't count, because you can have Grots in your War Boss's bodyguard, right? As well as Mech Boys, Mad Dogs, WoW Banners. The things we're used to seeing. I don't see Weird Boys, though, which is interesting. So for elites, we've got Storm Boys, Commandos, and Ard Boys, which is your 4-up armor save orcs. I wish we still had those. Scar Boys, which are basically veteran orcs. Again, I wish we had those. They're somewhere between a knob and a, I think they're a 1-wound knob. Actually, they're just a +1 strength orc. They're strength 4 orc. That's all they are. In fact, I think they might have done away with them in the 3rd Ed Codex, because that Codex lasted all the way through 4th as well. God, orcs get shafted all the time for codexes. Literally, they came out with a 3rd Ed Codex for orcs, and then they came out with the Armageddon campaign book, and they literally left them in play until 5th. Well, the end of 4th, right before 5th dropped. They gave us a new book. Jerks. So we've got Slugga Boys and Shooter Boys, obviously. Stick Bombers is interesting, because they still have a Slug and Choppa and Frag and Crack Stick Bombs, whereas, yep, your normal orcs don't have Frag and Crack Stick Bombs, so that's something to note. Then Gretchen Mobs, of course, with a 9-point slaver attached. Same old crap. War Buggies, War Bikes, and War Trucks. So they counted buggies and tracks as the same thing back in this edition, which was a jump for me, coming from 2nd. I was like, huh? But I guess it makes perfect sense, right? Now they're pretty much the same thing anyway as well, but they actually give them 3 different data sheets, which is silly. But anyway. Because yeah, instead of having a Scorcha, it's just a heavy flamer, right? You can give the buggy a heavy flamer, a rocket launcher, or a big shooter. And then, yeah, standard trucks, bikes. 0 to 2 selections of big guns. It's interesting. Which were just, yeah. So before in 2nd Ed, we had all the special ones like the tractor cannon and the pulsar rocket and all that kind of stuff. And here, this is the first time they just generalized them into zap guns, which are basically like, you know, laser weapons. Labas, which are basically like catapults, or I guess that pulsar rocket that fires off a track kind of thing. And cannons, which are cannons. So, yeah, is what it is. And then we got an Orc Dreadnought. So no kilocans. I believe that was an introduction of the 3rd Ed Codex. Yeah, so we just got the Orc Dreadnought. Again, they're just trying to sort of give you rules for the 2nd Ed stuff you already had. And then strangely enough, oh, there is rules for Weird Boys. Cool. As a troop choice. Weird Boy is a character and follows all the rules for characters. Weird Boy must be included as part of a boys mob. It may not leave it. You're right, because in second ed they needed minders to like look after them. Cool. So they attach to boys mobs. That's kind of cool. And you could have Boar Boys as your fast attack. That's super cool. Because they had models for those back in the day, like 40k Boar Boys. We saw them in the second ed orc book. Cult of Speed, Feral Orc Hordes. Let me see what they do for ferals. May not include Mega Armor, Mech Boys, Storm Boys, War Bikes, War Buggies, War Tracks, Zap Guns, or Dreadnoughts. So you can't have Weird Boys unless you have a Feral Orc band, so you have to give up. Let me just read that again to make sure. Feral Orcs may include Boar Boys and Weird Boys, but may not include any of the following. Cool. That's cool. Where's your Call to Speed? Everybody has to be mounted on vehicles. War Buggies, War Bikes, War Trucks, and so on. Troops' choices on the Force Organization chart must be a fast attack choice instead. War Boss must be mounted on a truck. And your army may not include any heavy support or elites. Boo. Alright, Sisters of Battle. Canoness, of course, leading it with her bodyguard. A Celestine squad. So those are your veterans, basically. And then, of course, basic Battle Sisters is your troops. I don't think I have to read through this too much for you guys, because again, there's not really any special rules I'm finding in this book. We're just kind of seeing troops with weapon options here. Again, a basic army list to hold you over until they get a book. And Sisters, I don't even think get a book until 3.5, so they had a while to wait. Orcs got one right away, but we didn't get one for until 2 editions after that. Seraphims, those are your flying chicks with 2 guns. Rhino, we know what a Rhino is. Retributor squad, so those are your heavy weapon Devastator squad equivalent. And the Immolator, of course, which is put as a heavy support choice, which is interesting. So nowadays it's basically the equivalent of a Razorback, it's a transport. Do they have the Executioner? Nope, no Executioner. Or Exorcist. Exorcist is what it's called, the one with the organ on the top that fires missiles. It's like a Whirlwind equivalent sort of thing. So the Immolator is the heavy support. That's weird. Interesting. And then yeah, so now we've got Heroes of the Imperium. So this is what I was talking about in the last video, where I was like, we'll see if they have any Mechanicus options, because I know they had rules for Inquisitors and Priests and all this kind of stuff that you could add into your other Imperial armies. Heroes of the Imperium is different from other armies presented in this book. A variety of different Imperial heroes can be included in a Space Marine, Imperial Guard, or Sisters of Battle armies, such as Inquisitors, Missionaries, Confessors. These characters count as your HQ choices, may lead units in the army that they join. Missionaries and Confessors may not join Space Marine units, obviously, because the Space Marines don't follow the Ecclesiarchy, so that totally makes sense. But an Inquisitor could. So yeah, we've got Inquisitor, who has a Rosarius, a Psy Cannon, and Demon Hunter rules for plus 15 points. Gets the Destroy Demon Psychic Power. Neat. Yep, so Missionaries, Confessors, Preachers, they put special here. Why? Preacher does not count as one of your army's HQ choices. Instead, you may include 1 Preacher per squad in the army. Preacher may not leave the unit as he's assigned to, and you may not have more than 1 Preacher per squad. Okay, so they don't take up a Force Org slot, they just get thrown in wherever you want them. Elites, we've got Imperial Assassins, obviously with the 4 different houses that we're used to seeing, that were developed in a second. And I think that's it. So yeah, we've got no representation of the Mechanicus. So there's a cool page. Now it's got appendix, it says here. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's it for the army list. Alright, cool. And just giving you a little quick summary of the rules. If you didn't want to read the whole rules section, this is your sort of like how to play in a few minutes for your starter set. Space Marine turn, assault, blah de blah. And then, of course, we end all the books with just some cool, fun, fluffy stuff explaining to you the Imperial calendar. Yep. Ultimate secrets of the galaxy revealed. House rules. And if you can't decide on a rule, roll a d6 for it. Stuff we're totally used to seeing. Voluntary fallbacks. Assaulting more than one unit. Interesting that they included that in the appendix as opposed to the actual rules. That's interesting. Guess range weapons. Oh, I remember guess range weapons. Missed those days of having to actually guess how many inches away the dude was. Now you can pre-measure everything. There was no pre-measuring back here, actually. That's something I haven't mentioned so far in this. No pre-measuring in this edition, guys. Guess range weapons fire first, and then you get to start measuring your non-guess range weapons. Crossfire rules, tank shock. Interesting. Cool. A little inquisitorial record. Like I said, your roster cards, so you photocopied these pages, you could write out your whole army on here, as well as the summaries for their weapons and characteristics and stuff. And you could actually do each individual squad on one of these cards. And just, I used to photocopy this page 1,000 times and then just cut them out and write in all my units. Which made it super easy to refer to on the battlefield without having to look through a codex. And in the back, like, again, we're sort of used to seeing in past editions. They sort of done away with this at a certain point, but for, you know, the last couple editions and these next future couple, you'll see these summaries in the back of the rule book. Give you a summary of all those sort of like standard weapons. Yeah, just generic armor values of some of the units, cover save table. I thought they gave you the summaries. Oh, I guess they do. Here's the templates. Templates we're used to. I guess in this case it's paper. They did come with plastic ones, like a dark black plastic, which was kind of cool. Which I think I still have a couple of those kicking around too. What is this? Terrors of the Warp? Oh, that's just fluff, of course. Fluffy, fluffy, fluffy. Buildings in Warhammer 40,000. I guess they added an extra appendix for that. How to move through them. Warp cover save on the parapet. Models inside the main bunker may move to the roof. Cool. Neat. Ah, so here's the proper summary. That's what I was talking about. I was like, don't they give you the hit and wound tables and stuff in these? Yeah, they do. It's just in this last couple of pages here. And the vehicle damage charts, explaining the rapid fire weapon types, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, actually I might just hold that open for you guys a second longer just so you can see the summary and how it was back then. Big difference from the second ed one, because there's actually quite a few less rules. This is very streamlined in comparison to second edition, even though looking at it from the perspective of 8th now, it's actually very granular. With the exception of the unit entries, obviously, the army lists weren't spectacular. And a final color page, as always. Cool, yes, we got the Gorka Morka mobs versus the Talarns and the Rough Riders, Attilan Rough Riders. Chaos versus Mordians. Leotok versus Ultras. I really like this little shallow water part. I might have to do, as opposed to an actual water feature, it's just kind of decorative. I might have to do something like that in the future for one of my tables. Cool. And that's the back. There's no time for peace, no respite, no forgiveness. There's only war. So I hope you guys enjoyed that look at the 3rd ed book. I know that was 3 videos and you had to wait a few weeks to see it all, but that is what it is, right? I had to divide it into separate videos because otherwise these videos would have just been way too long. So thanks for being patient. Thanks for watching along. So that was our final look at the 3rd edition rulebook. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun for me. going back over that, because like I say, this brings me back to my childhood. Like I say, I was in like grade 8 or 9 when this came out, so that tells you how old I am. So don't do the math, because you know I really don't know how old I am. But anyway, it's just a basic overview of all the units in the game. Like I say, they took out a lot of stuff from Second Ed. There was no Harleys, there was no squats, there was no Gene Stealer cult, there was no AdMech. We didn't see these things in this book, but they did introduce things like confessors and stuff like that, which I don't think we had in Second Ed. I mean, you can correct me on that, but I don't think we had those in Second Ed. Anyway, regardless, that's it for third for the rulebook. Anyway, we're going to get into all of the codices after that, so join me next time. I'm not going to say next week, because it may not be next week. These 3 were released in succession for obvious reasons, but the next time you see me on the Relics of the Dark Age, we're continuing on our 3rd Ed playlist. I'm just going to look quickly. Oh, we're going to start with Codex Space Marines, of course, because whenever they redo an edition, they always start with Space Marines. So we're going to be moving on to Codex Space Marines next time on Relics of the Dark Age. So if you like this video and you want to see the next one when it comes out, hit the subscribe button and hit that bell notification right next to it, because that'll tell you when it's out. In fact, it'll tell you when all of our videos are out, and we do all kinds of other stuff too. We do battle reports, we do terrain tutorials, hobby tutorials, we have a podcast. There's all kinds of stuff for you to check out. And if you really like this stuff and you really want to help us out and give back a little bit, go to the description below, check out our Patreon account. For as little as $1, it gets you a whole bunch of extra stuff, and it goes a long way to help us with our operating costs, because again, that's really the only way it's really the only way we make any money off this, and we're not making any money off it. But if you give us $1, it might help us. Just keep the ball rolling. Especially because we don't monetize. If you guys noticed, we didn't put any commercials, any mid-roll commercials or beginning commercials. We don't monetize our videos. Patreon is the only way we get anything back. So please go to the description below and just check that out. And like I say, you can set a monthly max for $1. You can give $1 for every video. You can give... Actually, we have one patron that gives $8 for every video, so that's wicked awesome. Thank you for that, Freddie. And yeah, that's all I got to say for today. So I guess I'll see you at our next encounter.
Hey everybody, I'm Adam.
And I'm Jay.
We are Encounter Wargaming.
And we wanted to celebrate hitting our 1,500 subscribers with giving some stuff away. What are we giving away, Adam?
Fort Bane! Alright, we're calling this the 2,500 subscriber Forge Bane giveaway, because that's the target we need to hit to give this puppy away.
That's right. So the first thing you need to do is share this video, the video you are watching right now. And
then click subscribe on YouTube.
If you haven't already.
That's it for 1 entry.
And the more you share it, hopefully, the more people we can get to hit subscribe and hit that 2,500.
Woohoo!
But there are other ways to win as well.
Tell them about it.
Well, you can follow us on Twitch. That will also get you an entry. So you subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitch. On top of that,
support us on Patreon for 5 big buckaroo entries.
Crazy. So also all the people that already support us on Patreon, don't worry, you're also 5 entries. But also, you can hit subscribe on Twitch. Subscribing on Twitch will get you another 5 entries into the contest.
So good, and all of this to say thank you guys for all the support. We appreciate it very much. We've come a long way, and it's because of you.
It's true. It's been a wild ride, and thanks for all the support, all the help, and we want to give you some cool stuff as a thank you.
Awesome. So hey, remember to share this video, and guys, I think that's it. So we'll see you at our next encounter.
Like a monkey in a rocket on its way back home. Okay.